Did John Deere just wipe the floor with Trump? The feud no one saw coming. Did you ever think you'd see the day when a tractor company sent Donald Trump into a full-blown meltdown? Well, buckle up because that's exactly what happened. John Deere, the iconic American agricultural giant, just plowed right over Trump in a way no one saw coming. And let's just say, he did not take it well. Was this a political betrayal? A branding war? A rogue tractor rebellion? The details will leave you shaking your head and maybe even laughing out loud. One thing's for sure, this wasn't just a loss for Trump. It was a harvest of humiliation. The announcement that started it all. Just days ago, Trump made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the business world. He declared that if John Deere moved its manufacturing to Mexico, he would slap a 200% tariff on everything the company tried to sell in the U.S. In his usual style, he made it clear, if he wins in November, John Deere better prepare for financial punishment. But here's the kicker. John Deere had already announced months earlier that part of its production line from the Dubuque John Deere Works plant was moving to Mexico. The reason? A weakening farm economy and declining demand for their equipment. In fact, the company had already laid off 99 workers because of it. And then, like an unstoppable tractor meeting an immovable ego, the feud began. A clash of titans, Trump versus John Deere. For nearly 2 centuries, John Deere has been the backbone of American farming. Its green and yellow machines are synonymous with agriculture, and for many farmers, owning a John Deere is a lifelong commitment. Meanwhile, Trump has spent years branding himself as the savior of rural America, promising trade deals, ethanol boosts, and endless photo ops on farms. But suddenly, the love affair hit a major pothole. Trump's 200% tariff threat didn't just spark controversy, it put him at odds with the very people he claimed to champion. Even fellow Republicans started questioning the move. One GOP senator responded, "I'm not a fan of tariffs. They raise the prices for American consumers. I'm a free trade Republican, and I know how many jobs are created by exports." So what exactly pushed these two powerhouses into a full-scale war? Was it a simple business decision? A personal slight? A deeper political statement? The seeds of the feud. At its core, John Deere's decision was about survival in a global economy. Like any major corporation, they need to cut costs, adapt, and expand internationally to stay competitive. But their moves didn't align with Trump's economic nationalism. They embraced automation and sustainability, 2 things Trump has mocked in the past. They adjusted global supply chains, which Trump saw as a betrayal of his America First mantra. And then there was the corporate branding war. Rumors swirled that John Deere had made a subtle but pointed political statement, maybe a clever ad campaign, a leadership shakeup, or an endorsement that ruffled Trump's feathers. Imagine a John Deere commercial about getting the job done, airing right after one of Trump's rallies. That alone could have been enough to trigger his fury. John Deere keeps rolling while Trump loses it. When Trump feels slighted, he doesn't take it quietly, and this time was no different. Within hours, his Truth Social account exploded with rants about woke tractors, overrated farming equipment, and even bizarre claims that he had somehow contributed to the invention of farming machinery. No, seriously. Meanwhile, farmers, many of whom supported Trump, were now facing a dilemma. Do they stand by the man who promised to fight for them, or by the company that had been their agricultural lifeline for generations? The worst part for Trump? John Deere didn't flinch. No dramatic press conferences. No scrambling to apologize or clarify their stance. Just cold, hard business decisions. And while Trump raged online, John Deere kept rolling forward, literally. The fallout, a turning point for Trump's rural base? Trump has spent years building his image as the ultimate pro-America businessman. He stood in front of factories, promised to bring back jobs, and repeatedly declared himself the champion of the working class. But John Deere wasn't having it. Instead of bowing to Trump's demands, the company made it clear they would continue doing what's best for business, even if that meant expanding outside the U.S. And here's where things get even messier. Trump's core voter base in rural America suddenly found itself divided. Farmers who had loyally supported both Trump and John Deere were now forced to choose. Do they side with Trump, who wants to punish John Deere with massive tariffs that could drive up costs? Or do they stick with John Deere, the company that has been their trusted equipment provider for generations? It was a lose-lose situation for Trump, and he knew it. The final blow, John Deere's silence speaks volumes. The most fascinating part? John Deere didn't even need to fight back. While Trump shouted into the void, John Deere simply kept doing business, a strategy that completely undercut Trump's usual tactics. Trump's entire brand relies on public feuds and media battles. He thrives when he can rile up controversy and get his opponents to engage. But John Deere? They just ignored him. No frantic PR moves. No damage control interviews. Just business as usual. And that, more than anything, humiliated Trump in a way no political opponent ever could. Because for once, he wasn't the most powerful force in the room. Conclusion: a fight Trump was never going to win. In the end, this wasn't just about tractors or tariffs. It was a wake-up call. Trump went up against a company that has been trusted by farmers for nearly 200 years. And instead of bending to his demands, John Deere did something few have managed to do. They left him shouting into the wind. No matter how many Truth Social posts he fired off. No matter how many times he tried to paint them as woke. No matter how hard he pushed the idea that John Deere had turned against farmers. It didn't work. Because when you're up against a machine that has plowed through nearly 2 centuries of economic challenges, a tantrum from a former president isn't going to slow it down. And that, folks, is how John Deere just ran over Trump, without even hitting the brakes.